Well, we are here with Bradley Fisher. We were just kind of before this talking about a different podcast I was having with somebody else, but kind of a similar situation, minus being an ISA, but just kind of like changing careers and just flipping it over. So why don't you kind of like just walk us through like, you know, where you're from, kind of like how you decided on real estate, how you got here, because, again, I'm familiar via Karen, but like –
Karen
more about
tells
it.
everyone my business. I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So I'm originally from Kansas City, born and raised in KC-Mo. I was born in Kansas City, Kansas, raised in Kansas City, Missouri.
Wait, so Chris is from Kansas too. Chris Hughes, who literally was sitting in your chair moments ago.
I thought I had a Kansas City feel.
Yeah.
It felt like home.
He's from somewhere Lowell, I think maybe something like that. But he was like more so. It's like Wichita would be like the big city, which also is not a big city.
So he's from the Kansas side.
Yeah, but
nice.
Him and his now fiance were like, they're expecting a baby. He's like, yeah, we're not living in Kansas and moved.
I saw a Chiefs flag somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, someone at this office knows about the Chiefs.
Sorry,
I mean, everyone knows about the Chiefs now.
Right.
When I was growing up,
the Chiefs were a hope and a dream.
They were L7 losers.
Yeah. Wow.
And then I moved here. Now they're great.
Okay. So now you talk us through that. At what point you got here?
So I went to Missouri State University. I studied vocal performance, and then I studied piano performance. I did like a 6-month stint in music education, and then after I had, accumulated 2 years worth of music credits, I changed to English literature.
Okay.
And then got a BA in English Lit with a minor in music. And right after that, we moved down here to Florida. In Florida, you can teach even if you don't have a teaching degree. So that's how I got in. Yeah, I swept in under that. Well, that doesn't fly in Missouri.
Yeah.
The Missouri teachers have to be teachers. In Florida, if you have like a subject area degree, you can teach under that for 3 years before you get a professional certificate. So that's what I did. I taught English. I started at Inglewood, taught there for 2 years, and then I transferred over to Andrew Jackson, taught there for 8. Yeah. So I did kind of like English at all levels, 9 through 12. I did a lot of like AP Lit, AP Lang, helped start the AP program there, and then started a drama club, and then that turned into teaching theater full time and doing like less English. So yeah, when I left teaching, I was teaching like 6 sections of theater.
Theater. Okay, and then you, of course, just like every teacher, just like one day wake up, you're like, I love what I'm doing. I'm going to change careers and go immediately into real estate.
Run for your life into real estate. Yeah. It was a gradual process. I think my transition out of education, I was in a good place in terms of like the school. I liked my school, love my coworkers and my kids and my administrators. Like I left on really good terms.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's kind of a shot in the dark because like I'm certified to teach until 2025. So if this burns down, I'm not making any money. I can go back to teaching.
Well, which
there's
I don't.
Not a huge line down the street of people that are like, get me into public education.
Right.
So there's job security there, which kind of made the jump a little bit easier. What really happened was, so my husband is an architect and an interior designer and a photographer, and I live in Springfield, North Springfield, as I like to call it, really up on the same street where I taught. Mm-hmm. And those houses in the 30s, like it would have these little miniature houses that are a garage built in the style of the main house,
right?
You know?
Carriage house,
but it's too small to actually park your car. I parked my car exactly once, so when I put the garage door down, it scraped the back. So that was it. It's not a garage. It was like a laundry room. Yeah. Right. So he designed that into like a loft apartment.
Smart.
And we put it in Airbnb. I guess like 2 days before Thanksgiving. And it's been booked almost every single night. Like I could count on one hand the night it's been empty.
Wow.
So I started making more money with a garage Airbnb, like significantly more money than I was making a month teaching. So I was like, okay, so I have a whole other salary here. So if I want to, try this financially, I can. I didn't have to do the thing where it's like save up and be prepared to make no money for all these different months. And he has an eye toward, like, one of our long-term goals is for, like, him to be, designing renos and designing flips, but also designing new construction here and in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And so that would be, like, the goal. It'd be to have places here in Florida, maybe in Kansas City, places down there, put those in Airbnb, and then, like, choose your adventure. Do a month with my, like, in-laws in Mexico City, do a month in Guadalajara. Like, that would be
ideal. Which is honestly great that you understand that and you're not sitting here. I mean, obviously you've had tremendous success, which we'll get into right off the rip, but you understand that it's not an overnight situation. It's not even a month situation. It's like the long-term goal. How do we get there? This is where we start.
Right. And
Right.
so I did kind of my homework before I jumped into this and saw all the numbers about how everyone's, most people go down in flames and they don't even last a year, and it can take like 6 months until you have like any livable income. And I was like, okay, why is that?
Right.
And I think a lot of it has to do with like the amount of access to leads and then the amount of time that you have to throw yourself into it, because
Right.
a lot of people try to. I mean, there's a lot of teachers in real estate, and a lot of them do it is teach all day, get off at 3 or 4, and then try to do real estate in the evening. There's not a lot of hours left for
Right.
that. And so, like, I
Sounds
felt like the barriers
exhausting.
to entry was, like, the time thing, you know? So I thought if I go full-time, throw myself into it, we'll see.
Right. Which you have. I mean, you are here you're less than 60 days for sure.
I was 30 days on Friday.
Yeah.
Friday was my 30th day.
All right. So Friday, here it is, Monday. You have how many pending?
8. So Friday night, it was...
I'm gonna go back to breaking the fourth wall again.
It was going to be 6 in 30 days, and then on Friday, 2 more went under contract. It was like 10:15 at night whenever
Well,
whenever
and I
the other
remember
one
because
sent.
we were up front here with Brittany. Brittany and I had to go to a birthday party, and you're telling me she like went to somewhere, and then you're telling me you're like, yeah, I was talking to these people because again we'll get into it. You speak 14 different languages, but you were just like, yeah, I'm always trying to help out the Spanish speaking leads because it's only a handful of us here. And I'm showing, and then all of a sudden they're just like, yeah, we want this one for like 900 or whatever it was. It was like bananas.
I hope. I just heard back from that guy.
Yeah.
It's not executed that one yet, but I think it's going to be.
Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah.
Cash?
Kind of. It's like a hard money lender. They're like buying up apartment complexes and flipping them. So it's not like pure cash. But,
Right. But it's
yeah.
cash, so to speak. All right. So yeah. So your husband, you said is Mexican?
Yeah. He's
Okay.
from Ciudad de Mexico. He's from the capital.
Okay. So yeah, because you speak a handful of languages that everyone keeps talking. I mean, I feel like every time I turn a corner, you're speaking not in English. And it's a different.
It's Spanish. I speak
Yeah.
Spanish. That's what it is.
Yeah.
No, I studied French, but I can't really I don't think I could sell anyone a house in French. And then I studied French for my BA. Wish I would have studied Spanish because that would have made more sense. Since I didn't,
Well-
I had to have 4 semesters of a foreign language, and I did 4 of French and 1 of Chinese. And then after I graduated, it was like I have to learn Spanish. Oh, I should have been studying the last 2 years.
Right.
So I lived in Haiti during like a summer semester
Mm-hmm.
in college, so I can speak more Creole than I can French because there's just people you can practice with. When I taught at Inglewood,
Right.
I had dozens of Haitian kids all the time, so you can that's really what it is. It's
Right.
like who you can practice with.
I was talking with somebody about we did in high school. We did a trip to Spain, and yeah, it's pretty wild just being there for 10 days. How at the end of it, because you just figure out how to say certain phrases to get whatever it is you want. I mean, it's literally
survive.
survival. It's like, how do I say this? Okay, I've said it once before. How do I say it again? And by the time you repeat it over and over again, it's
Right.
So like being there is so much easier than if you're in a classroom 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and then you're like, all right, fine, I'm gonna go, change and go play kickball or whatever.
No,
it is.
seriously. Yeah, I'm certified in ESL as well, and I remember when I was having to go through that certification, you learn there's different parts of your brain for language acquisition, and the part of it that you learn reading a book, taking notes, listening to the lesson, doing the worksheets,
Right.
that part of your brain is a totally different part of your brain than the brain the part that fetches language to do tasks in real time.
Right.
And so if you never have an immersive experience, which I mean that's it's not for everybody to be able to spend extended amounts of time out of the country, but that is using this whole other part of the brain. So whenever you have that immersive part, if you've done any of the studying, that stuff starts to transfer over to what do I say when I need to pee? What do I say when I need to drink?
So you know where to go to it, but it's not the same way as because I played baseball in Miami, so I had a wide variety of different Spanish I was hearing.
I bet.
But you start to pick these things up and then hear the difference in, and you can recall from what you were doing it, but it's not the same as when you're just just spit it
real
out.
time. Yeah. It was one of the things that was nice about teaching, was that there was these huge breaks that, you know, are paid. So I would be able to, I design curriculum on the side. I have a lot of, I'm a hustler. I have a lot of side hustles. So
Do you sleep much?
I do. I have to, or I'll like get sick and fall apart. But I do. I have to have like 6 or 7 hours of sleep. But I would design curriculum for these Chinese private schools, and you know that would supplement my income. So I lived in Mexico City for a summer. I lived in the Dominican Republic for a summer. Those times were like whenever the language would really like progress in a crazy way, I would come back and be like, oh, okay, that's different than it was before.
Right. Do you find yourself ever missing any of that? Like, kind of like, do you miss teaching in a way, or do you miss kind of that side of it? Or
it's only 30 days. I feel like I haven't had time to miss any. I miss the faces of my family. I miss the gym. I miss like some of the things that like boundaries that I'm gonna. My plan is to like put more in place once I've kind of got this off the ground. I haven't had time to miss it. I think maybe this summer, whenever like a good friend of mine is gonna be like doing France all summer. That's the teacher.
Right, you're gonna have some FOMO. Yeah.
When I see his Insta, and he was like, "Why don't you come?" I was like, "I can't come. I have to sell houses all summer."
Well, and that's what we kind of always talk about. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to spend 3 months over there, but just the structure of the way that we operate is such that you literally can do all those things from kind of anywhere as long as you allocate that time. That's why we kind of have those set in place and boundaries happening here.
Right.
So if you were to need anything, it's not like, let me call this person, they're not answering. It's like literally like you can walk over and talk to Brittany, i.e. you and I are standing up front, or Brittany and I are standing up front. You're like, hey, where, like, because I remember you're showing your phone, you're like, I'm looking for this, this, and this, right? To be able to do that versus like calling her, whatever. But you can, so to speak, set up business, lay up business, and still have people kind of take care of that. But yeah, it's just going to be kind of more difficult. And at that one point, it's like, are you enjoying your vacation, or are you just working in a foreign country?
True.
Right. So
which I don't mind the working in a foreign country thing. That could work for me.
Right.
I don't know. I have a dream. Like, I don't know. One of the things we've talked about is like having like an international real estate brokerage.
Right.
Because there's so many people whose American dream is to go back to your country. Right. You know, eventually, like, you've come here, you've worked. Like, that's kind of my father-in-law's story. It's like, yeah, the dream is, okay, I've come here, I've worked so hard, I've put all my kids through college. Like, my dream is to not have, like, to get to be home. Right. You know, and there's a lot of people that, like, have worked hard, and as soon as they hit retirement, like, they want to be back in Mexico or the Caribbean. And so I think there would be a demand for that. Like,
a liaison, so to speak, like
kind
an
of.
international.
And there's plenty
liaison.
of people that aren't from, you know, Mexico or the Dominican Republic.
No, but I think
that
you're
are like, hey, I'm retired. I would love to have a place in. I would love to have a place in Cancun. I would love to have a place.
But
in
I think
Punta
that's kind of a smart and just an interesting idea, because referral business is obviously huge for a lot of people. For the most part, agents who are kind of outside of this brokerage must rely on referral, because I told a story earlier about how an agent from outside this brokerage was knocking on someone's front door that I know of, and the homeowner was like, A, no, I'm not interested in selling, and B, I'm like so disinterested and turned off by you just like straight up knocking on my door.
Yeah, the Mormons ruined that for all of us, I guess.
Right, and the Jehovah's Witnesses. But there has to be. But I think what you're saying makes sense, to where we'd have like an international liaison who their sole job is to build partnerships with people in foreign countries to be able to outsource that and know it's being taken care of properly, because obviously there's language barriers, different situations, political issues within a country that people may be moving to.
And at least in the DR and Mexico, because those are the ones that I've like researched the most, like they're like a real estate agent doesn't really exist. It's like a real estate agents there are for American buyers who, language, all that. But like in Mexico, for instance, all you need to do to buy property is like go to a lawyer to sign this over. So like lawyers just do it all the time.
So there's
not
like agent.
There's not like an agent, but for people that are like, and the other thing too is like you can build for so much cheaper, you know. And if it's a vacation rental or a condo, with like the cost of labor and the material cost, and
I'm sure
in places like Mexico, you can build it for so much cheaper. So my husband, he designed the house that his mother lives in Mexico City, and did like he worked for Santander, like
the bank,
the big bank there, like just building banks all over Mexico City and Guadalajara. But he also did some freelancing, like home design stuff.
Gotcha.
And in a city of 20, I guess it's like almost 30 million now.
I was going to say,
there's
Mexico
not a lot
City's
of room, you know. So like economy of space, how do you fit, you know, all the things you need in a home in a lot smaller area?
Right. It's a big challenge.
It is, yeah, but it's also like a cost-effective challenge. Because if you do these vacation, like if we were to build, vacation
There's a lot of stuff that you
there.
would need in America that you're just like, yeah, you just don't need to offer this there. It's just because
you don't
have
need
the space
an
for it.
oven.
And you just don't have the space for it. So it's
And
not
there's
like
not
you
the
guys just
space.
elected to just leave a hole in the middle of the kitchen. You're just like, there is literally no space for it. So
Yeah, we don't.
no
do
one's
that
going to
here.
know what's missing.
Yeah, and it's like it's different whenever you're on vacation. You're not
Right.
bringing, I don't know, the
Yeah, right, you're
sprawling
not like-
American suburb to Mexico City. There's not room.
Yeah, right. That's true. So let's talk about you. Obviously, you just outside of 30 days, you show up. At what point did you kind of get the ball rolling? Because I remember you came in kind of, I don't know, we just refer to them as like a class, but you came in with like pretty decent amount of people all started at the same time. And you just, literally every time I was over there, you just like on the phone, head down on the phone, talking to somebody, whether it was a lead, a relative, I don't know. But at what point did it kind of, you struck gold and then it like just kept happening?
So I did my Trainual thing as fast as I could, knowing that like that's a resource that's like still available.
Right.
I can like go back and reference anything that I
Definitely.
need.
Which you should totally. So that's a smart way to do it.
So I just I would try to get like here and at home, get through all of that to get on the phone as fast as I could.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I did a ton of calls, and then really what happened, I think, is that there's so many people that needed someone to take a shift, and so I just started being a shift buzzard. Like I took everyone's shifts.
Smart.
For a month, essentially,
Yeah.
because I wasn't like offered shifts yet.
Right.
But there would be like someone would be like pulling their hair out. I have to get this covered this afternoon. So I started taking shifts, and then as soon as I did that, I had 6, 7, 8 showings in an afternoon. I was like, that was really what got me off the ground.
Right. And those are those kind of inbound lead situation where you are literally just sitting there and your phone is buzzing with.
Well, and the Spanish speaking leads too, because like pretty much instantly people were on shift and had somebody that they needed to speak in Spanish to.
Yeah.
And so that would lead to showing. I'm trying to think through my first. I think the first couple that I had that I got under contract though were like I think they gave me like 129 leads or something, like a huge dump of like just like quals,
Right.
And I started calling. I think the first 3 at least were, or at least the first 3 offers I put in were people that were just from the qual that people had been talking to for a long time.
Right. We say that it's like, these are people who have previously raised their hand, whether they were handled properly or just, decided they were going to use a cousin, lost all 50 of the homes they decided they wanted to try and offer and are still actively looking. Yeah, we always, do you watch Arrested Development at all? Familiar with it?
I love Arrested Development.
Where they always say there's money in the banana stand. That's what I always say that. I always say that about. I'm like, there's money in the database. I mean,
What a
Tom
perfect
Ferry,
show.
right? Tom Ferry. Everybody says it's like there's money in your database, and if you're not even servicing those people properly, how? Like, of course, anybody. If I literally was like, hey, this is Jim and Diane, they want to buy that house right there. Yeah, duh. Okay, great. I'll write it up. But in order to listen to somebody, which I feel like you probably do really well, is listen to somebody, find out what their needs are, what they're looking for, and then being able to find that is a trait in itself, which you probably got from teaching. It's like, hey, I have to listen to like what the students are saying instead of just rambling
It's a
on.
people job for sure.
Yeah, like rambling on and just like, all right, well, we're going to go this, and nobody understands it. Like, we're moving on, right? Like that at least used to happen to me a lot. I was in I don't know how old you are, but I was in the age where everything as I was in high school was just flipping over to like PowerPoint everything, and each room had a projector and like all this stuff. So it was literally just like and we just move on. I'm like, half these people didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a pretty important thing, is to listen to somebody, because we always get, you're just jamming it down their throat. I'm like, we're jamming it down their throat after they've told us what they want. I'm like, if this is what you say you want, like, we have to do this, right? I mean, I think that's what's important.
Yeah, and it's like teaching is a relationship based enterprise. You can lecture, and if someone is like, I am so into this subject, maybe it doesn't matter. And I think on a college level, for instance, like, if somebody loves that subject and that's why they're studying it,
you're just, completely.
And also scale, like you can't necessarily have a relationship with, 200 kids in a lecture, but teaching high school, relationship is the leverage that you have. And I think that really applies to real estate transactions, is that like winning them over on this human level, even if it's just so they can tell you to go yourself. Oh,
Yeah.
can I say that on the podcast?
Yeah,
Sorry.
we gotta bleep.
Good.
We gotta bleep.
You know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
even if it's just so they can really tell you, my live stream is to rent, never call again. You know, but as a friend, I'm telling you this. Okay, great. We've got. But I think that human connection, once you've made any kind of like relationship point of contact, then that is, kind of go from there. And I think, yeah, people are tired of being called and texted. They need like a human voice on the other line can be different.
Right. Jarring. Yeah. I mean, Gary V, I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, but he says all the time, our generation is the greatest at sniffing out the sale. Like, I mean, think about an influencer, right? You're following an influencer. You can tell. I bet you if I showed you 2 posts, which I almost wish we did this. We should probably do this later on, is show you 2 posts, and I guarantee you the 3 of us in this room can sniff out which one is like plugged for a sale, where the influencer is pitching something versus their organic content. Right. Like, we're just legendary because we've just seen it. So, and we've seen it at such a young age. Now we're like, oh yeah, this is like, I'm following Mark. Let's just take Mark Wahlberg.
What a man.
Right. Mark Wahlberg. He had a post. He's a religious guy anyway, but had a post where I immediately could tell it was a plug for something, which it was. It was for like some sort of prayer app.
Bible.
That he was pitching. But
Magic Mike's daily devotional.
Right, but that's
I'll read that Bible. Is it illustrated?
No, it's not. It's not. It's just strictly an audio app. It's called like Hallow or something. But again, I could tell from his normal training content, which is like him working out or boxing or talking about how
to be hot. Yeah.
But how he got up at 3 a.m. He's got to be. Is he almost 50 now? Is he north of 50? Dude looks pretty good for however old he is.
Not bad at all.
But you could see right off the rip, I'm like, this is not your organic content.
Yeah, and it's like, it's true. I'm calling you because I want to sell you a house. That's my job.
But I know nothing about you when the phone rings, or even if my phone rings and I'm picking it up, I know absolutely nothing about you other than you want to buy a house. What that house looks like, you have to listen to find out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what are your needs and wants, and where are you coming from, and
what's kind of your goal throughout the year? So obviously we have 8 pending right now. They'll start to close.
If I did 8 every 30 days, I would have 96 in a year. Which is like,
that's
you
it.
could just add 4 and you would make 100 houses in a year, which everyone's like, the high end of what your goal should be is 50. I don't know. I told my dog and my husband and all of the people that I had in my life before I joined this cult.
I sat my dog down
and I said, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, hay que decirte algo. And
that's what your dog's name is?
That's my favorite writer.
I was going to say, isn't that an author?
Yeah.
Did you write Love in Time of Cholera?
That's right. Look at you. Amor en los tiempos de cólera.
Yeah.
What a sad book.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's awful.
No, it's great, but it's so sad. Oh, sorry, I keep saying the word.
Yeah, but it's 2 beeps. Just let's do a timestamp. But insanely, and I think they did a movie.
Yeah, of course.
There's a movie.
My favorite is 100 Years of Solitude. And also his short fiction is like my favorite short stories. There's a short story called Eyes of the Blue Dog where these 2 people meet in their dreams every night and are in love and like spend the whole night like talking and like connecting in this deep spiritual sexual way, like they are lovers in their dreams,
but then
and they can't find each other in real life. And so like every night when they're about to wake up, they like tell each other, okay, what's our code word going to be?
Like if we see each other, because do they know? Well, I guess
in the dark, they can't tell. They can tell kind of like the forms, but it's so dark you can't see their faces. And so the phrase "Eyes of the Blue Dog" is going to be how you'll know me in the waking world.
That's
and then,
interesting.
Of course, her love sickness drives her out of her mind until she's writing "Eyes of the Blue Dog" in lipstick on the drugstore floor whenever they take her away. Anyway, Gabriel Garcia Marquez is highly recommend.
Yeah.
I mean, that's magical realism.
Yeah, I was going to say that's pretty wild because that sounds well. You ever seen Midnight in Paris?
Yeah.
Okay, so I like
magical realism as well.
Well, I was going to say that's kind of what struck me when you're talking about that. It's like where he basically goes into this.
Yeah.
Right, but it's not. I guess it could be interpreted as a dream. They show it to you in reality as though, but like obviously that's not real. But yeah, that kind of struck me as the same thing. I'm like, that's a pretty wild concept. I'm surprised. Is there a movie about that?
That short story? I don't think so.
Because that's
like
a pretty
lot of really good short fiction. He's like known for those 2 big books.
Right.
He's known for everything. He was a Nobel laureate, but
right.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my dog's name. I told before I gave you an English lesson. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Before I told you that story, No, I told my loved ones, like, I'm gonna go at this pace for the first 3 months. And just see how, like, to get money rolling in to liquidate some things I need to do as much
and to understand, okay, if I work this hard, this is what the outcome is. Okay, how can I scale it back to where it fits my lifestyle? I'm still making the money that I need to make to reach my goals, etc.
And also because I'm slow. Because, like, I think that's the thing. It's like whenever you are learning these systems and you're learning the whole process, like there's like a whole half of the real estate process that I still don't know anything about because I've never closed.
Well, and because we have transaction coordinators, so like
which is really helpful and magical as well.
Right.
But I'm just like, okay, what's gonna happen next? Okay, then this happens.
And you'll lean on them. I mean, I definitely. So Tori, even Lewis, people talk about their TC, like lean on A to get the transaction done, but then like they will totally love you going in there and trying to educate yourself or find out what is next, right?
Yeah. I mean, I know the deadlines, but I just like I haven't like lived it, so I know like even though I'm working really crazy hours and days right now, I'm still slower at all of the things that it takes to do this business than I will be in 3 months whenever I can like write a contract super fast, know exactly who to call. I just keep like running into things where it's like, okay, I'm at a dead end and I have to reach. And that's the other thing that has been really great is the mentors, Brittany and Travis and Brett have been so available, up until and sometimes even past the deadline, like just
nightly cutoff.
Always there to one of them is there to take my call, walk me through, where do I find this document? How do I write this kind of an offer? Like they've just been great. So
I think that's huge.
It is. I mean, it would be, I couldn't have had that many under contract by myself for sure.
Right.
So I don't know. It would be hilarious if I could hit 100. That would be That would be funny.
Yeah, it'd be really funny. I mean, but yeah, that would be wild. But again, you understand, right? Okay, I literally head down, full steam ahead. Okay, it's 8 and 30 days.
I may have a stroke if I keep this pace all the way a year, but at least 3 months, we'll see how many I can. Right,
and I think that's as long as you, and we say this all the time, as long as you're not burning yourself out to where you get so fed up with it. Like I think it's very important to. It seems great, and when the money starts rolling in, it's going to be even better. But I think you just need to kind of like, okay, this is what this work looks like. This is how I allocate my hours. Yeah, I'm doing it right now, but definitely, I would say to like look into that and just be like, okay, normally I would do this. Maybe I'm going to, do this instead.
Yeah, building in time for, friends and family and diet and exercise. And the other thing that's funny is like I have a private chef business, and like I cook usually, elaborate meals for my family.
Right.
And they are starving to death. It's like there's no time.
Yeah, I heard that, and who said that? And I was like, he's a private chef. I'm like, when?
No, I've been doing about one private chef gig a week since I started working here, and it's kind of sad because it's like not fun. It's like, oh shit, I have to go shopping.
How
did
I have
that
to
stop doing this to start cooking, and then I have to serve it, and then I have to clean up. And it's sort of like an intrusion.
Right.
Once I get this off the ground, like I will block out time, to like enjoy that.
Why do you do? Is that a passion?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love to cook.
Yeah, but I didn't know how that came about because you went to teaching and not like culinary, so I didn't know.
Yeah, so
it's something you love to do, but you don't want to make a business of it.
I do want to make a business of it.
Oh, so there you go.
But I think that I can make probably more money faster doing this, but I still have that in my back pocket. Like it's still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not like my number one priority. So for years and years, I would like give parties or cook for people's parties, and I'm like, why don't you have a business? Why don't you have a business? And so I finally started one when we opened our Airbnb because like I'm cooking like this anyway. What if I just sell it to the people that are? Don't put this in the air. Yeah. It doesn't sound as nice that I'm giving my leftovers to my Airbnb guests, but essentially it's like I always cook for more than I need.
Well, it's increased hospitality is what you're kind of doing.
Right. And people get to an Airbnb. They just traveled. We live in Springfield, so it's like near the airport. People who just got in town. You've settled into this place. And then it's like,
where you are, where
now I
don't
know where to eat, and I have to leave again and go find something to eat. So we found that like all the like grazing boards, like charcuterie, wine, that's really popular too because people get there hungry,
right?
So even if I don't have to cook dinner, and that one's easier to keep going because it's pretty simple to like do a charcuterie board,
and that's pretty across the board. Like a board has multiple offerings, so you can kind of pick and choose whatever. So you don't know what somebody's dietary restrictions might be.
So that got really popular, and then my best friend, my husband, flipped his rental into an Airbnb and like tripled the income in it, and so they live on 6th Street, just like down the road.
Okay.
So they started offering it there, and then another Airbnb host on 7th Street was like, I want to offer that to my guests. She has this really beautiful. It looks like a shotgun house, kind of. It's like the one bedroom that goes back with
just
a
like
pool.
a bowling alley.
Yeah, kind of, but it's just like beautifully appointed. It's like from the 1910 or something.
Gotcha.
It has a pool, super romantic as well. And so I started doing it with hers as well.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Lot to unpack. I don't know where you sound like everybody else. You need a couple extra hours in the day in order to really get things where you want them. We're live now. Smash the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when we post a new podcast. We're talking to our top producers weekly, as we unpack kind of their stories and getting into real estate. Follow us everywhere at DJ&Lindsey, on like Facebook, Instagram, and now Pinterest. And then also this podcast is sponsored by Audible. Audible is a great way to listen to books instead of read them. And we'll have a code in the description for you to get, it's like some sort of free something. But just let us know.